Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Completionist. For this episode, guys, I'm sure you've probably noticed that my usual surroundings have changed. Basically, what you see behind me is pretty much about 90 to 95% of my video game collection as well as my DVD collection. And this is down in the basement in my rec room that I just recently finished within the last year. And I really wanted to make this video for a long time, guys, because for as long as I've been on YouTube, I know that, I've been kind of secretive about, my video game collection and, how big it actually is and, some of the things that I actually collect. So, now that I have the rec room finally renovated, now it isn't completely done, it's just about done. We still need to put a TV down here and a couple of pieces of furniture, but for the most part it's actually done. But one of the first things I actually wanted to do was to actually get my gaming shelf built, because before the rec room was even developed, this entire basement was just one huge empty space. There were no rooms, there were barely any walls, and over the last year and a half, we really put in a lot of time, to try to get the basement renovated, I guess to make the house look a little bit more professional. So, because I had my video game collection everywhere, all over the house, in the cupboards, in the drawers, sometimes in Rubbermaid containers, sometimes in the bookshelves and stuff along those lines. But now that we have this rec room finally done, I thought it would be a good time, to do this video. I have a really good friend of mine on YouTube by the name of TB46667. Tom has been really waiting for some kind of room tour. So this is probably as good of a room tour as you're going to get, because I am very selective over the things that I actually collect. I don't really collect a lot of video game merchandise with regards to posters or scrolls or soundtracks or anything like that. I'm very selective over what I collect, and for anybody that's been on this channel for a really long time, you do know that I tend to focus on the anime style video games, and literally about 90% of the video games you see here are anime style games, because I really have no interest in collecting any of the other types of games, no matter how good they are. So basically, guys, what I wanted to do for this video is that I just wanted to go down row by row by row to show you some of the things that I actually collect and that I actually own, so that you can get a better understanding of my video game hobby and things along those lines, because I'm sure there are plenty of other YouTubers that can probably make this gaming shelf look like a complete joke. But I'm pretty happy that I managed to finally get all the video games placed in one location. The other video games that aren't here is that there are select PS1 titles that are very valuable and kind of precious to my wife and I, and we kind of have those put away in little boxes, because even though some of them may not be the rarest games out there, they actually hold a lot of sentimental value to each of us. So we really wanted to keep those games out of the way from everything else. And the only thing that isn't here as well, guys, is that all my video game guides, they're upstairs in a bookcase. And we have a few video game statuettes, not very many, because as I said, we're very selective over the things that we collect, and some of those are placed in the living room as well as the bedroom. But for this video, we're just going to concentrate on what is down here. So anyway, guys, let's get started, and I'll show you some of the things that I actually collect row by row. So anyway, starting on the top row, guys, this was a figure that my wife gave me for Christmas a couple of years ago. For me, being the big Xenogears fan that I am, one of the things that she bought for me was a Xenosaga Kos-Mos figure. Because I am a big Xenogears fan, and I do like the Xenosaga games for the most part, even though, you all know my feelings towards Xenosaga 2. I'm not really the biggest fan of that one. So I'm really grateful, you know, to get a figure of one of the characters from that game series, because it is a good game series, but unfortunately it doesn't live up to Xenogears. One of the few figures, however, I do collect. I couldn't really pass this up because this is my favorite female fighter of all time. And if you guys don't know, my favorite fighting game series is Rival Schools Project Justice. And my favorite fighter in that entire series is the schoolgirl, Hinata. So when I seen her release a figure from the Capcom Queens collection, I absolutely had to pick it up. When I play Rival Schools and Project Justice, I would like to think that she is my best character. It is the character that I use the most. And this is the only Capcom fighter I'm just interested in having. Now there is one more, but I don't know if there is a figure of her, so the only other Capcom Queen figure I would love to own, if it was available, is that I love Karen from Street Fighter Alpha 3. She's a really awesome character. She's my favorite character from that game, and it's been so long since she's been in a Street Fighter game, and I really hope Capcom brings her back into one of its fighting series, but you know, with all the dick moves Capcom has been making lately, I highly doubt it. But you know, if there is a Karen action figure, I would absolutely love to own it. But those would probably be the only two female fighters I would probably collect collection-wise. So anyway, the next things up on the top shelf are figures that my wife owns. Now, my wife's favorite game of all time is Final Fantasy Tactics. So when they released Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions on the PSP, they actually released a couple of action figures from that game. And she actually collected the entire set, like some of the characters is Delita and Ramza and Agrias, as well as a few others. So she really went out of her way to find those figures and add it to our little collection here. Behind the figures, you know, are some of my PS3, you know, limited edition boxed games. You know, they're all anime style. You know, we have Catherine, we got Hyperdimension Neptunia, and we have Artanella Kokoga. So I thought putting those in the back, you know, would kind of be the safest place, you know, to place them. And yes, guys, those are indeed My Little Ponies. Now, my wife, as a little girl, she absolutely loved My Little Ponies. But unfortunately, when she moved out of her house, her mom gave all of her My Little Ponies away. And it was some of her favorite toys ever. So she really wanted to see if she could get back her favorite My Little Ponies. And she actually managed to find the 4 that were the most important to her. And the strangest thing about one of them, guys, is that this unicorn here is actually one of the most expensive My Little Ponies you can buy loose. Now, loose, it's not in the plastic wrap, and it's not sealed, you know, and the pony's name is Mimic. And if you actually found Mimic online on eBay, you know, its lowest price would go $400, and this was a pony that she actually owned as a little girl. So anyway, moving on, the games that you see behind the ponies are the Metal Gear Solid HD collection for the PS3, and Death Smiles, the limited edition for the Xbox 360. It's one of the few Xbox 360 games I own. As well, behind this figure, you know, we have the Virtua Cop set, you know, with the arcade stunner gun. And one of my wife's favorite anime series is Full Metal Alchemist, and one of her favorite characters of all time is Roy Mustang. So I seen this Square Enix figure of Roy Mustang, so I absolutely had to pick it up for her. As much as she loves the character, it isn't her favorite character. She's actually a really big fan of Hawkeye, so I don't know if they've released a Hawkeye figure in this size. But if they did, I'll probably be picking that one up for her as well. So she absolutely loves Full Metal Alchemist. This figure right here is actually one of the first figures I actually owned. You know, I think it's at least 10 years old. You know, when I first got into anime, you know, when I used to watch Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon, you know, I remember a commercial that they showed on ASN you know, for my Canadian friends. And I remember watching ASN late in the night, and you know, and they had a special from Columbia House that you could actually order anime off of Columbia House. And the first anime that they would send you would be Akira. And for me, just barely getting into anime at that time, you know, I jumped right on that opportunity. You know, they would send Akira to you in VHS form. It was the original dub, the Streamline Pictures one, not the Pioneer. And they would send you Akira for $5, but then every other anime VHS would be $25. And I remember it happening around the time of my birthday, and that's exactly what I asked my mom. I wanted my mom to sign me up for this, and I told her, you know, I would pay for every VHS. And you know, when I watched Akira, I absolutely loved it. It's still one of my top 5 anime films of all time. And I remember in university, I went to the collectible store, and they actually had this Akira figure there. And it's actually a Kaneda on his bike. And, you know, I really couldn't pass it up. You know, the chance, you know, to own a figure from one of my favorite anime films of all time, I couldn't pass it up. And, you know, it's been in my collection ever since. And, you know, I don't think I'm ever going to give it up. So, also, behind the Akira, we have the Tekken Hybrid limited edition for the PS3. And also, right here, guys, is my PSP collection. You know, there's a row of games already behind it, and then you have these games up front. You know, I would like to think I have a lot of the anime-style RPGs, but I'm still missing a few, like the first 2 Legend of Heroes games and Crimson Gem Saga and a few others. So I absolutely love this collection. I think all the games that I have in my PSP collection are all anime style. And right here, kind of hidden away, any self-respecting husband would hide this game away from their wife, especially if they did not want their wife to be pissed off. Because I can only imagine, guys, how can you walk into EB Games and ask for the Record of Agarus War, the really naughty limited edition? So, my wife has specifically said that she does not want to see that, ever. If she sees it, she'll probably burn it. So, and the funny thing is that, you know, they call it the really naughty limited edition, but the game is actually fairly clean. It's just like some of the extra things that come in the game, you know, like a mouse pad with boobs and a pillow. So anyway, that takes care of the first shelf. You know, we got some little art books right here. So right here is pretty much my SNES collection. A lot of it is loose because, unfortunately, boxed SNES games are very hard to find in my area. You know, these are the box games right here, and the SNES games are actually 3 rows. We got 1 row, 2nd row, 3rd row. And going ahead, this is my N64 collection as well. You know, it's all loose because, unfortunately, because of the area I live in, you know, it's very hard to find boxed N64 games. There aren't actually that many anime-style games for the N64, so I hope to get some boxed versions of some of my favorite games, like Blast Corps and a few others. Right here, guys, is my Sega Dreamcast collection. I only own a total of 8 games for it. You know, Sega Dreamcast games are very hard to find in my area as well. But I already own some of my absolute favorite Dreamcast games, like Project Justice and Bangai-O. And I really gotta thank Pink Gorilla, you know, out in Seattle. You know, if it wasn't for that store, you know, I wouldn't have found a lot of these great Dreamcast games. So I really want to thank you guys for that. Right here we have the boxed limited edition PSP collection. You know, we got things like Lunar, Silver Star Harmony, Persona 1, Persona 2, the Ys games, Trails of the Sky, Fate Extra. And right here, guys, we have some of my PS1 collection. You know, some of the games here are like Rival School, Saga Frontier 2, Legend of Legaia, Metal Gear Solid, Darkstalkers 3, Mega Man X4, and we have the 2 Lunars right here. These are some soundtracks, you know, I placed on top of it. You know, the King of Fighters 13 soundtrack, that has all the soundtracks from the King of Fighters game, or select tracks from the King of Fighters game. We also got the Skya custom soundtrack, Fragile Dreams, and a few others as well. Right here we have the PS2 collection. Just about all the games here, you know, are anime style. You know, we got some of the RPG staples. You know, we got the Xenosaga collection, Persona 3 and 4. Some of the dot hack games, Wild Arms 4, Barracuda, La Pucelle Tactics, you know, the Kingdom Hearts games, Valkyrie Profile 2, Odin Sphere, stuff like that. Right here we have the PS3 limited edition version games, you know, like Street Fighter X Tekken, Record of Agarus War 2, Hyperdimension Neptunia MK2, Atelier Meru, Agarus War 0, BlazBlue Continuum Shift, Atelier Totori, Disgaea 4. We also have some of the PS2 limited editions, like the like the Persona 3, the 2 Ars Nelico games, Star Ocean 3, Dragon Quest 8, the Metal Gear Solid Essential Collection, Sakura Wars, and the only time I will ever collect figures is that if it's for a game series I absolutely love and appreciate. Now, one set of figures is mine, and the other set of figures is my wife. Right here, we have 5 of the 7 Sucikoden figures. We have, I think, Nash Bridges. We have the hero from Sucikoden 4. We have Gedo from Sucikoden 3. The knife-wielding guy, I forget his name, from Sucikoden 3 as well. And we have the hero from Sucikoden 2. I think the only 2 that she's missing from this set is Chris from Sucikoden 3 and the hero from Sucikoden 1. And the other figures right here are figures from the first Valkyrie Profile game. And I'm very appreciative for 2 of the figures that I own. I'm only missing 1, which obviously is kind of the staple. You know, I couldn't find Lenneth Valkyrie. But I do have one of my favorite RPG characters of all time, well, RPG female characters, which is Freya. So I'm really glad to get a little figure of her. And one of my favorite RPG villains as well, which is Lazar Balef. So I'm very grateful, you know, to have these figures. Hopefully I can find a Lenneth figure as well. Right here, guys, so we pretty much have my Wii collection. It's pretty much one row, and it's on its second row right now. You know, I'm actually quite amazed, you know, some of the anime-style games that have actually been released for the Wii. You know, we have the Trauma Center games, Castle Shikigami 3, Sin and Punishment, Fragile Dreams, you know, the Metal Slug Anthology, and, you know, for my wife, I got her the Just Dance games, and we have the Dance Dance Revolution Hottest Party games as well. And right here we have the Final Fantasy 13-2 Collector's Edition, the one that got released on EB Games. So anyway, that's the games for the first 2 rows. Now, for the next 2 rows, you know, is pretty much all DVDs.